Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I am absolutely knackered, but there's something very important that we've got to do today. Very important. I've been putting it off for a while, and it's even more important that we've got to do this today because I'm busy for the rest of the week. Now, I'm absolutely super knackered because I was drifting on Friday in Middlesbrough. On Sunday, I was at Donington Park. That was a very early morning. And then yesterday, I was at Snetterton. And that was a very, very early morning. So all I want to do is sleep. We need to get on with the day. So luckily, I've just got a package from Holy. And as you can see, I've been that excited, I've already opened it. So this thing is like miracle work. And I'm glad it's turned up today, because I am honestly just wanting to go to bloody sleep. Now, Holy is a revolutionary drink, and their tagline is no bullshit, and I feel like that's what I'm trying to address today. So there's actually no sugars, no taurine, and no artificial flavours in these, hence their tagline, no bullshit. I used to be partial to a horrible energy drink. Now, not only did I used to have a massive crash as well after having those energy drinks, if you actually looked at the ingredients of those, you would see why they're so bad for you. Now, this has actually got 4 calories in, and also there's 0 sugar, and there's also over 14 different vitamins in here as well. These are vitamin B12 tablets, and I have been having these for way over a year now, and they massively do help. Luckily enough, Holy actually have them in the actual powder, so I don't need to take the tablets as well, which is great, and that's me being very honest. So if you struggle with low energy or low focus, but you also don't want to shove a ton of sugar in your body, Holy is the drink for you. Now, as well as energy boosting drinks, they actually do iced teas and hydration drinks as well. Now, if you want to try Holy and see what all the hype is about, head over to their website, and there's actually a couple of discount codes on the screen now. The most annoying thing about like doing all the drift days and stuff, it's just like taking your tools everywhere you go. Put all the tools in the car, take them out when you get there, then put them back in the car, then bring them home, and then take them back in the unit. It's so annoying. And right now we're taking this down to the unit and leaving the X5 here, so we have to take the tools that we need from the X5 over to the van. Oh, it's just a pain in the ass, but it is what it is. It's the life I chose. Gunshots in the dark, one eye closed. That's a Wiz Khalifa reference. Right, we're full of Holy. We've got some energy. It's not cured my cold. Just give me some bloody energy. Let's get all the way to the unit. Hopefully on the way back to the unit, I'll show you that what we're changing today and what the worst thing about this van is. Now, it comes on worse than others sometimes. I feel like when it's not been driven for a while, it's okay. But then when it kind of like gets hot, not the engine, but like it's suspension related. So whenever the shocks get warm, it's horrible. It is almost undrivable. It is that bad. For some reason, the suspension's been quite nice this morning, and it's not. But it knocks. It's actually been alright today, because I've not driven this in weeks, maybe even months, like a month almost not driven it. But it is bad. It is like you hit a bump and it goes bang, 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 and you can hear it all through the van, and it honestly, it's horrible. It's like the shocks are not shocking at all, but honestly, there's some. It's been fine. Honestly, it's really bad. You've got to take my word for it. I've tried to video it like 10 different times. And that's not even the worst of it. It gets so much worse than that. I could deal with that, but honestly, it's unbearable. The good thing about actually having the tools in the X5 is that the van is actually, we've got all the tools there, we've got all the tools that we need. Now, we're actually going to be doing this job outside, because another thing with owning a van, especially one like this, is it's like impossible to get in the unit. So we're going to do it outside, and you know what? It's actually weird how things have gone, because like obviously I spent most of the start of my channel working outside, and then it got to the point where I started hating working outside, like it was really stressing me out. So I got a unit, and then I feel like now I actually quite missing working outside. I don't know, it's quite nice. So we're going to be doing this outside, and hopefully I don't regret that decision. So we've got all the tools here, and I've got the gazebo in case it does start raining. Let's go and have a look at what suspension this is. It is a coilover, and as you can see, you can kind of see what coilover it is, and they are old. My camera is not enjoying life right now, but it is a cheap coilover.
Now, I don't really have anything against cheap coilovers if they work or if it's for a vehicle which will suit cheap coilovers. But when they drive like absolute dog shit, then I have a bit of an issue with cheap coilovers. And this drives like dog shit. In fact, let's do a bit of a test. That is not suspensioning very well for suspension. When I have any kind of suspension issues or suspension queries, I always message Gaz Shocks, as they have been in this game for longer than anyone that I have known. They make suspension for cars that I've never even heard of. So I messaged Gaz Shocks and I said, do you do anything for a T5 transporter? And they said, yes, we have done full coilover kits for transporters, but unfortunately, they said that for a van like this, on a coilover kit like that, you're never going to really get a good ride because there's so much mass going through such a thin spring. So they said that they weren't happy enough making the coilover kit, so instead they've made something a little bit different, but it still gives you all the benefits of what you really kind of want. And this is what I've got from Gaz Shocks. So this is the kit that I've actually got from Gaz Shocks. So these are the rear struts and these are the front struts. Now what these are is, these are a fully adjustable, upgraded shock absorber. Standard shock absorbers aren't really made to work with lowering springs, which are lower and also stiffer. Standard shocks just don't deal with that very well. So this shock is actually designed to work with any spring that I want. I can go standard spring, 20mm lower spring or 60mm lower spring, and these shock absorbers are designed to work with that. Now not only that, I can actually adjust the stiffness of the ride for what I need from the van. Now I actually want the van to be a little bit lower. It's not even that much lower now, a little bit lower, but the main thing is I actually want it to drive normal. I don't want it to be knocking and crashy and bouncy, which is what the majority of coilovers are for big vans like this. So I've gone for these shocks, and I've actually gone with some eye-back lowering springs as well. I'm going to open this box and I'm going to explain to you the difference of why it's somewhat difficult to put a coilover kit on a van like this. If you look at the actual size of the top of the spring, it's actually the size of my hand. And that's why you usually find when you put coilovers on big vans like this is that they drive terrible, because they need a huge spring and you can't get that on standard coilover kits.
And this is why I've gone with the Gaz Shocks. I'll get a better ride. I can choose whatever spring I want. I can still adjust the actual stiffness of the ride. And even better, I don't have to pay dealer prices for a new shock. So with all that being said, we can actually start jacking up the van and actually start changing these terrible cheap coilovers.
Now the backs look simple enough. If I was doing this the other way around, putting the coilovers on, it'd be a pain because you've got to cut down the bump stops. Otherwise they just hit the coil. I'm not quite sure. I did Google it and apparently it's a pain to put the coilovers on, but we're going the other way around, so we're putting the standard swings back on, so we shouldn't being the key word, have too much of an issue. These have been on for a long time. I thought in my head this morning, oh, it's got coilovers on, it's going to be an easy job, you know, because they would have been changed and all the bolts would be fine. Wrong. Well, that doesn't sound good, does it? Okay, there's a nut on the other side. I mean, that's good news.
Now once you've got the bottom shock bolt undone, you can usually just pull the arm down with your hand and pull the spring out. Usually.
Okay. This is slowly turning into a job, which seems more difficult than it first thought. You need to lever this arm down to get the spring up. Fucking miles off. How the hell? How the hell? Oh, that's the spring. Look how tiny that is compared to the other ones. And then there is the adjuster, which I'm pretty sure is causing the knocking, because there's just nothing, it's just metal on metal. And you can actually see where it's like wearing away the paint. So I think that this has just been moving around, going dung 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 dung.
And to fully take the strut off, there's just one bolt going through the top of the shock, and it just goes straight into the body through a thread in the chassis.
There's our strut. Now this is why it's knocking on the back. One is two reasons really, and one is the reason I'm going to show you on the arm. You can actually see that there is an indent see there a little bit, that is where the spring actually sits into, and that locates it on the arm to stop it moving around. Now on the coilover, you're not going to get that, because this coilover, and it's got nothing to locate into, right? So you can see the spring actually sits into this bit here. There's actually a stopper on the other side, so the spring won't move around. And secondly, this is our new eye-back spring. This is the spring from the coilover kit. Now what's happening is when that compresses, they're going to touch. There's so much weight over this. Now eye-back realised that, and they put these rubber things on the coils, so that happens that when the springs actually, when the coils actually touch each other, they don't dung 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 dung, they don't slam against each other. This cushions it, and this is going to stop the horrible road noise of the clanging that I'm going to get. Okay, I've got the spring in. It was difficult. I didn't film it because I was messing around so long. I had to ask one of the guys to come and lever it down while I put the spring in, because it's really hard to get the spring in as you're levering it down yourself, because you've got a lot of movement in the arm before it goes in. Piss take, yes. Completed it though, yes. Make sure all the locators are lined up, the top and the bottom, and then we're going to jack it up and put the shock on. And it's literally as simple as just pushing the strut up between the chassis, putting the top bolt in, and you might have to just jack up the arm a little bit until the bottom of the strut actually lines up with the bolt hole on the arm. And also, before we actually put it on the ground, we're actually going to set the stiffness of the ride, and we're actually just going to go right in the middle now. There's about 12 clicks, so we're going to go right in the middle and we can adjust it from there. Okay, why is it going into manual focus? It's not what we want. Okay, so that's one side done. Unlike other channels, I always film the side that takes harder. I don't know what I'm doing, and then do the other side off camera. More entertaining, isn't it? Watching me struggle. First, I was literally tightening something. I thought, something on fire, and it was the heat. It was the heat coming off me. That's how hot I am. But I don't want to take my jacket off because I'm going to get literally covered in dirt. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I like staying clean. Right, I'm going to do the other side quick. Then we'll get onto the fronts, which I'm a little bit worried about because I'm not even sure if I've got top mounts. Okay, so we're going to drop it. We're going to see how much higher it is. I can't remember what springs I got. I think I got like 40mm or 60mm. Does it say on here? No. I actually can't remember what springs I got, but let's just drop it and see. Okay, that's a lot higher than it was, but it's a van, do you know what I mean? It's not actually that much higher than the front, but again, they've not settled. And what I find is that usually you've got to drive and take the handbrake off for it to settle. So let's just take the handbrake off and roll it forward and let it settle. I'm using settle because I feel like that doesn't really work. Like, they don't really settle. I think it's just something where, you know, when people install things and it's not really the correct height, or it's not as low as somebody wanted, and they just go, oh, it needs to settle. But I don't know, sometimes I have had cars and it's settled, so I'm not quite sure. But I mean, it's definitely higher than it was, but for a van, I think that's all right. It's a van, and it's going to drive 10 times better. And let's do the rock test, bounce test. Oh yeah, no noise. Oh my god, yeah, that feels good. And we've still got the fronts to do. Look at us unmodifying things on this channel. And how does it feel? Amazing. Because as I'm getting older, guys, I'm starting to realise modifications ruin cars. I'll leave that cliffhanger there. That's me with a fishing line. Whoa! Okay, so not all modifications ruin cars, but sometimes things need to be more practical than aesthetically pleasing. This van was purchased with the intention of being one of the support vehicles for True Rally. Now, we drive some crazy roads on True Rally, and that'll be no exception for our Christmas rally this year. True Rally is a driving holiday for true car enthusiasts, and we are going through Scotland in December, and it's over 4 days, and we're heading through some of the best roads Scotland has to offer, even through parts of the NC 500 and the Isle of Skye. Along the route, we'll be staying in spa hotels, log cabins, and ending in Glasgow for the Christmas markets. Everything is all fully planned, and your accommodation, your breakfast and dinner, your activities, and a full GPS route with all stopping points marked, and obviously vehicle photography is included in the price. There's only 3 spaces left, so if you want to spend a stress-free and unforgettable Christmas getaway going through some of the best roads in the world with a bunch of modified cars, go and grab a ticket now. Okay, let's get onto the front. I'm a little bit worried about the front because I'm not 100% sure. Obviously I'm taking coilovers off. I'm not taking the standard suspension off, so if it was standard suspension, it'd be very obvious that the top mounts are on there and I can reuse the top mounts. But with these being coilovers, I don't know if it's come with top mounts or the person's reused the top mounts and these ones haven't come with top mounts. Now I know the brand of this coilover, and I know many years ago, or a few years ago, they used to not come with top mounts, so you'd use the standard, you know, top mount. But now I feel like they all come with top mounts. But I've just had a look under the wheel and it looks like a rubber top mount. It looks like a standard top mount. So the only way we're gonna know is by taking the suspension off and just see him. Now, a minute ago I was like, where the hell are the top mounts? Because the top mounts come through here. Can't see him in the bonnet. I looked under the glove box, but they're actually just tucked under behind there. So we're gonna have to take all this plastic off, which probably means we're gonna have to take the wiper arms off, which is annoying. Little bit annoying. I just hope they come off easy, because wiper arms, when there's a special tool to remove things, you know it potentially can be a pain in the ass. And there is a special tool to remove wiper arms. But hopefully, oh, I mean, we've got away with never using special tools in our lives, to be fair. That's actually going a little bit lower now. I'm waiting. Now I'm sat here waiting. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that ride height. It's a van. Do you know what I mean? It's a van. Okay, so let's move on to the front. And let's see how bad of a job it's going to be. Look at these crusty old boys here. There is a lot going on here. So first of all, let's just remove all these brake lines and ABS lines. Get everything out of the way. More to deal with on the front. Got a drop link here, which we hope comes off easy, because they can be a pain if they've not got like a little spanner bit at the back. These things, sometimes they come with like Torx heads in the front. They never ever work. They'll always round unless they're like brand new. 2 big bolts at the back of the hub. And then we're praying that this is the standard top mount that we can reuse. Luckily GSF have got some for sale. I think like 20 quid each or something, which is ideal. But it'd be good to just reuse the old one, because if the old one is probably going to be OEM, it's probably going to a VW, it's probably going to be better than the ones you can get from second hand. So first of all, let's just get it down to his strips. Let's take the hub off, let's get this off, get the drop link off, and then we can go about taking the wiper arms off and get the top man out. So there's not actually too much to go on. There's 2 bolts here, bang bang, which hope come loose. Whack the hub down, this off, not too bad. Got 2 bolts here on the hub. The top one is an 18, just checked it, and the bottom one is a 19. Usually these are FT. If you don't know what FT means, you need to start working on cars more. Everyone who knows what FT means is currently shouting at the camera going f***ing tight, and that's right. Normally they're f***ing tight, but today they're not actually FT at all. I've just knocked them with a brake bar, but they weren't tight, so let's just try and buzz them off. That's definitely an aftermarket bolt. That's why they're 2 different sizes. That doesn't look like a VW bolt to me, boys. I'm not sure about you, but that definitely doesn't look like a VW bolt to me. I'm not gonna. Nice. That was the drop link. So as you can see here, the drop link is coming out at an angle. You don't want to ruin the threads. What you can do is, if you can jack up a little bit on the drop link, it's just going to lift it up. You should be able to pull it out a lot easier. It's probably like that because the other side of the car is either higher or lower, so the drop link's not even. So that's why it's not just popping out. But I don't really want to just knock that out with a hammer, because I might ruin the thread. So we've got a bar, and as you see, if I can just pop up the drop link, there you go. So just pop that up and then pop it out. Now there's actually a really nice tool. It's called like a spreader, or I'm not sure, but you basically pop it in, turn it, and it just spreads the strut apart so it falls down. Now I've actually not got one of those, so I'm just going to go back with a hammer and just try to.
3 weeks later.
Okay, I was getting there, but I'm knackered, so I went and asked Charlie if he's got a tool. So you got this, you pop that in the gap, you spin this, and it pulls it apart. So let's give this a go. Skadoosh. So it's just sitting in there, and it just pinches that out a little bit, so you can slide it off and definitely give a bit of that of a clean inside, because it might be hard to slide the new one back on. That's the harder thing. Getting them off is okay, because you've got the weight of the hub dragging it down with a hammer. Trying to get it up, it's quite difficult sliding it on there, you know, without it just pushing the whole strut up and compressing the spring. So that's off. Let's go to the top. You can see why I'm pretty sure it's got to stand the top mount on. Let's go to the top, get that off, and pray, 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 pray. Oh no. So next thing we've got to do is remove the wiper arms. It's just one 13mm bolt, and luckily this time they came off with a little bit of a wiggle. Now I was just thinking, it's still not ideal. You can't really get your hand in there. But it looks like they've put a little service hatch here. Like this looks like it slides in, and there's a bolt here, there's a Torx bolt here. So I'm hoping, for the sake of VW, this would be a great idea if it is. Take this little bolt out, hopefully this slides up and we can get our hand through. And that would be some engineering and a half. So let's test it. VW, I take back everything negative. Well, maybe not everything, but I take some. Oh, that goes in there. I take some things back that I've said about you, because that is absolute genius. So what's happening is the nut's getting tight at the top, and it's spinning the inner strut. So I've had to put a vice grip on there, and then put a ratchet on there, and then that's holding it. Then, and we're nearly there. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a little bit fiddly. Oh, it's gone tight again. How annoying is that when it goes hand tight and then it goes loose again? Now with the coilover off, we can actually just gun off the top mount and pray that it's in a reusable condition. Yes! Top mount. Meaning we don't need to reuse them. Sorry, buy new ones, because I am a tight bar steward. We can actually sell these coilovers as well, because they're actually, like, the struts. Work. So, I mean, they're going to be cheap as shit. I get 50 quid. 50 quid anyone who wants some transport coilovers. They don't knock at all. They sound really good, actually. Now, next, we just need to get the brand new Gaz Shocks and the brand new eye-back springs and just build them up. Now, luckily, these are lowering springs, and you don't really have to compress the spring or anything like that. As long as you can get a thread on the top mount nut, you'll be fine just to gun them down. And then once you've got a full built-up unit, we can actually start installing it back on the van. The strut is way too long to go into the hub. It is way, way too long. So the only two things I'm going to have to do is somehow remove the arm, because it can't go any lower because the drive shaft is hitting there and the arm is hitting there, so it can't go any lower. Or it's somehow compress the spring somehow so I can push the shock up a little bit, but then this platform might probably get in the way of the spring compressors. So I can't get the strut back into the hub. So I've gone online and I've watched the YouTube video, and you have to take off the drive shaft and you have to remove the bottom arm as well. Use engineering, use a brain cell when putting in that little access hatch, but not one fucking putting the front suspension part. Fuckers. Right, so I suppose we only got one more thing to do, and that's we may as well just start getting the drive shaft and the bottom arm off. Can't wait for this one. That drive shaft nut, jeez. I've only got, so it's an E socket or triple square to get the ball joint out. Do not attempt this at home. This only goes up to an M12. I have a feeling it's going to be an M14. VW, you can go and fuck off, mate. Right, so it's an M14, which is a triple square, multi-spline, E-socket, everything the fuck you call it. The shit that VW uses anyway. Now, I'm terrified about these sort of ball joints, because like, I remember doing this on my X5, and you can get the bolts out, but the hub, literally like the two platforms just weld themselves together, and it took me all night to get it apart. Right, let's hope that these, oh you fucking hell, Volkswagen, take back everything I fucking said. Ugh. Oh no. Okay, and it's a pain because these multi-splines don't sit in there properly, so you've got to be really careful. Oh no, it's rounded. Yeah, that's rounded. Oh, you fuck. Is that rounding or is it turning? Oh, it's turning, thank God. VW. Well, now we've got to wait to see if the actual surfaces haven't welded themselves together. Because this is like an exact copy of what happened on the X5. And if you remember that night, if you remember that video, guys, it was literally one of the worst days of my entire life. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do, guys. I've not got time for this. It's so late, I've been on this for so many hours. The ball joint is on the floor. So you can see, you've got the bolt here, which is one of the triple splines. VW shit. And these can sometimes be a nightmare if they've welded themselves together. I'm hoping that's not the case. And with a bit of a hit, they just kind of fall off. We've got to pray that this splits. Yes! Yes! Okay. Okay. Oh my God, what a joke just to change the front strut. Drive shaft off. Lower ball joint off. Soul taken away from your body. Now we can probably find a way to squeeze this in there. And then put it back on there. Drive shaft back in. Oh! Now I'm going to speed this bit up and use a voice overlay because if you can imagine any swear word known to man, it was said during this period and I can't be bothered blanking them all out. So just imagine the stress that I must have been going through for whatever 10 minutes, what felt like a lifetime, was happening for. It's just lifting the whole fucking strut. I knew that would happen. Okay, I have a technique. It's working. You go up on the jack a couple times and then you fucking pull it like that. Now this technique only worked for a few minutes until the strut gets most of the way down to the strut and then the technique actually stops working. You can actually see the heat coming off me as I said earlier in the video. Honestly, this was one of the worst things I've done in a very long time. I would definitely not recommend doing this at all, and I would definitely not even attempt this job without one of the strut splitter tool things, because it would be impossible. Finally. What a piss take. Oh my God, all that. Let's change the strut. Now after putting the drive shaft back on, I thought most of the stress would be over, but little did I know, the worst of it was definitely yet to come. I spent the next hour and a half trying to line up the bottom ball joint to the holes in the hub. Now this seems like a really good idea. Oh, just let's make the arm unboltable with two bolts. Until you realise when you've got old bushes and the weight of everything, trying to line up two bolt holes is near on impossible when you have a ball joint which barely moves anymore because it's used. I then also cross-threaded the threads in the hub, so I had to take the arm off again, and then I had to re-tap out the threads in the hub. It was near on as bad of an experience as that day in the X5, but somehow I managed to do it. Now at this point, I was honestly ready to just pack up and drive home with one side done and one side not done, but then I realised that I'm not scared. That side, I'm speed running this side. I don't know how it's going so well. That side took me a long time. I had to re-thread the hub because the hub got cross-threaded and it was a nightmare. I got it done and I was like, oh my God, I've got an hour, so I've got to be out of here. And I'm like, I'm going to try and speed run it. And I'm about 10 minutes in and I've already got the strut on. I'm absolutely speed running it. Sending everything. And it's going really well. It's going really well. Because if I'm not out of here by R5 and these guys go, I'm going to be stranded here for the night. Get this motherfucking arm out of the way. I'm trying to speed run, get out of my way. Yes, the drive shaft's in. Send it. Send it home, boys. Let's go home. Why don't you just go home? drop link. You know you want to go home too. That's your home. Where's the bar? Give me a bar. Bend that bitch. Get in there. Don't play with me. Nice. Now the bitch. Get this bottom ball joint back on. But I feel like I've learnt my mistake. Oh, this ball joint's well nicer. That's definitely going to be an MOT advisory though on that ball joint. Are honestly 2 little bastard bolts. I put one in and I thought it was in and I tightened it just a little tiny bit and then it threaded, so I had to fucking tap it all out again. It wasn't a fun day. But this ball joint is moving. The other one was like super stiff, so it was a nightmare. Right, one in, come on. I'll be quite annoyed at the end of the day if this one's took me, well, I started it at past. I don't know what time it is now. It's got to be 22 quarter to. I've got to be 10 minutes in, it's pretty much on. If this has took me less than half an hour and that side took me pretty much like 3 hours, this side's gone in. I am a fucking legend, guys. So the time is 5:10 and I've literally put it all back on. It's all back together. So I did that side in 40 minutes. That's me running in and out trying to grab things as well. So realistically 30 minutes, and the other side took me fucking hours. So I've got 20 minutes to finish up everything that needs to be done. You need to put the wiper arms back on, the plastics, all that kind of bullshit, and then hopefully I've not forgot to tighten anything. Fucking stay with me. I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see what it feels like. But I'm shit scared because I speed ran the other side and I'm scared of maybe not tying something. But let's see how it drives. Instantly it feels like I've actually got suspension on, which is absolutely amazing. So let's see how it handles the bumps on the way home. I did want to do some other things today. I ran out of time. I didn't think I would be taking drive shafts out and tapping hubs and moving ball joints and all that bullshit. But here we are. So look, it's quite a lot higher than I thought it would be, but I'm sure it will settle. And it's actually not that much higher. I think I can sacrifice a little bit of height for something that actually drives like a car. So absolutely no knocks, no clunking, no banging, which is awesome. But it is really stiff, especially on the front. I'm pretty sure they're automatically set to the stiffest setting, and I didn't adjust them because I was too much in a rush. And annoyingly, to adjust them I've got to take that bit of plastic off, but it is, I can just tell the shocks are really stiff. So we're going to put that on minimum soft, and we need to do the backs in minimum soft as well. The back's okay, well, it's a bit not as bad as the front, because I'm literally sat on top of the shocks. I can feel it like literally like sucking up every single bump. So I'm pretty sure they're on full hard. So we're gonna have to take off the wiper to take off that wiper, the wiper plastic shit thing, and we're gonna have to put them softer because it is pretty stiff. So, but it feels so much better. I'm not like clunking and banging, going don, and the car just feels like it's just way more planted, which I'm glad about. Van, people get really annoyed when I don't say the right things. Like the amount of people are kicking off about because I've said Robin Reliant. Who cares? You know what I'm talking about? Fucking hell. Now there's still one decently sized issue with the transporter, and the fuel gauge doesn't work. The fuel gauge actually stopped working after I installed the facelift swap. So we're actually going to dive into hopefully finding out the issue and why the fuel gauge isn't working. So there's one fuse box down here. I've literally just checked every single one, and they're all fine. So I'm pretty sure there's another fuse box somewhere else. I have just scanned the car on Carly, and it's saying there's 2 fault codes. It's saying there's an outside air temperature fault code, which is related to the instrument cluster, and also there's a fuel level, but related to the instrument cluster. So I'm going to have a look at some more fuses just to rule that out. And then I'm going to start looking at the actual fuel level sensor. It's throwing a code for the fuel level sensor, but it's throwing it as an instrument cluster code, which is weird. But I'm going to see where the actual fuel level sensor is. Hopefully it's not like in the tank. But the fact it's throwing it as an instrument cluster code is really weird. So I think the only thing to do after this would be to check the fuses, check the fuel level sensor, make sure it's actually getting a resistance, make sure the wiring's not ruined. It's just too convenient that it only happened after I did the facelift thing and I put the wiring the wrong way. So to me, it feels like something's blown, whether that be a fuse or something on the instrument cluster itself. But what we're going to have to after that is take the actual instrument cluster off and see if there's anything like blown in the back of it. Might be the case of getting a new instrument cluster, but we'll get to the bottom of it. Let's check the other fuses just to rule that out. And let's go from there.
Now, all the other fuses in the other fuse box were absolutely fine, but then I came across this issue on YouTube. Now, this is a guy who was experiencing the exact same problems. He did the facelift swap, and all of a sudden his fuel gauge stopped working. And they removed the cluster and saw that this is what was happening on the motherboard.
Now, after seeing this video, I went and did a little bit more research on this on the forums, and this is a really, really, really common thing. So when you're doing the facelift swap, you either have to rewire it in yourself, or you can actually buy these conversion kits off eBay. Now, everyone uses to buy these because they're about £16. It's really like, you know, how they even do that for 16 quid is crazy, in my opinion. But on these, they don't tell you which way around you need to put them. Now, if you put these in the wrong way around, it sends an earth all the way up into the instrument cluster and does the damage you've seen on that previous video. Now, why is this an issue? Because the plugs are exactly the same. You can put them in whichever way. So if you're not aware of this issue, and even then, all the wiring's black. So you would actually have to look at the pins. I don't even think there's a way around it. I think if you buy this kit, you have a 50-50% chance of putting them in the wrong way and blowing your instrument cluster, because I can't think of a way around it. The only other thing I would think of is that, you know, looking at the pins, which one's black and measure it to black, but all the wires are black. You literally can't get it right. I don't understand. So I need to message this company on eBay and you need to say, look, this is a big issue. You need to mark which one goes where, because everyone is having this issue all the time, and you're a 50-50% chance of blowing your instrument cluster. And that's what's happened. So the only thing going forward is I'm going to have to get a new instrument cluster or send this one off to get repaired. Now, the only annoying thing is that the immobilizers go through the instrument cluster, and obviously got your mileage on here as well. So if you get a new instrument cluster, you have to deal with an immobilizer issue. Potentially, I've heard some years do, some years don't. But you also will have then the issue of it looks like your car's been clocked. So this is going to be the end of the video. Thank you, VW, again for using the exact same plugs on every single thing. Love you all. See you in the next one.